Planet is a giant in software and payments for the retail and hotel industry. And now, as you know, it's entering the vacation rental market. So we'll have Rory O'Neill, that is the commercial marketing director of Planet, that is going to give us a little presentation of Planet. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Manuel, for the kind introduction. I'm not quite sure how I feel about standing here between you guys and a fabulous dinner by the beach. But if you live in London like I do, we take great pleasure in standing in the way between you guys, the sunshine, and the beach. So I apologize for that. I promise I'm not going to talk about Planet very much. My good friend and colleague, Leonard, who is here with us, he said, Rory, please don't bore these wonderful people about Planet. Let's talk about their guests, and let's talk about consumers. But during today's talk, and I promise I won't talk very long, we wanted to answer 3 questions. Firstly, who is Planet? How do we work with Avantio, and why do we work with Avantio? And then most importantly, what's of interest to you guys in the room? So that's what we'll try and do in the next 15 minutes or so. So tiny little bit, sorry, I have to shoot here apparently. Tiny little bit on Planet. Sorry, get used to the delay. Tiny little bit on Planet. We're a company that's 30 years old. We're a tech business. We operate in around 120 markets. We have roughly 2,500 employees worldwide. You can find that out on our website. We roughly work with 120 of the leading 140 retail luxury brands. We work with 8 of the 9 top global hotel chains. And we're working on the 9th. And we're delighted to work with Avantio and their community, and delighted to be here this afternoon. Now, more importantly, in the world that we live in, in this world that we live in, I'll go back, there's this brilliant thing called a consumer. And consumers turn into shoppers, and they turn into guests. And when consumers look to pay, funny enough, they don't find that interesting. No consumer actually likes to pay for anything. Irrespective of what you'll see on payments companies' websites, people do not get out their credit card and beam a smile. It doesn't happen. Payments needs to be invisible. And it needs to be buried behind the great experience that you deliver to your guests. And it doesn't have to just be effortless. It has to be personalized and rich. So the fastest growing e-commerce segment in the world today is baby boomers, because they had to in the pandemic. Contrary to that, Generation Z, a very important consumer group, are now desperate to get back to in-person experience, whether they're staying for their holidays or whether they shop. And this wonderful little Gen Z group, those born between 1997 and 2010, there's roughly 2 billion of them worldwide today, expect effortless interactions with your brand. And there'll be the most considerable spending power by 2026. They'll spend more money than any other consumer group of all time by 2026. So we better understand them. So this group in particular have this wonderful thing. They were born and grew up with this thing called the internet and social networks, which means they don't have a high attention span. And time is even more precious to them. On average, across the human race, our attention span is changing. It's drifting from 12 seconds to just 8 seconds. And it might be a little bit less after this particular presentation. I apologize. But that's the phenomenon of time. So if you're going to capture these individuals, you better be quick. A year ago or so, I was interviewed by my daughter, who happens to be a Generation Z. She asked me, how did I watch TV? She was doing a study or a piece of research on how old people, like me, used to watch television. So when I told her there was only 3 channels, she fell off her chair. And that one of the channels started at 12 midday. And actually, it played the national anthem before it started. She asked me, how did you find out what was on television? I said, I bought a newspaper to tell me what was on the television. And she said, well, that's very interesting. What did you do if you weren't in your house? I said, well, we would try and record it, if you could, with this finger and this finger. And she said, well, what did you do if you missed it? I said, you missed it. And out of that conversation came this wonderful generation called #FOMO. And that's that generation. And in a split second, you have to capture their imagination. So in China today, when you order fast food, you order 2 or 3. Gen Zs order 2 or 3 fast foods of one go, and then they cancel the slowest and just pay for the one that's quickest to arrive. That's the mentality that we're dealing with. Today in the US, it's not Instagram for this generation, it's TikTok. Now, that might be a good thing. According to Instagram, the world's most visited or most popular tourist location is Dubai Mall. Thank you, Instagram. I think the world has a little more than that, so maybe TikTok could do a little better. And by the way, if you didn't believe me that this generation was all about mobile, then this is taken from Lennart's hometown in the Netherlands. And the video might not play, but what you can see there on the side of the street is a neon light to tell people that the traffic light is red. Because you only look at a neon light on the floor when you're looking at your phone. And seriously, that's how this generation works. And by the way, once Generation Z is in place and we begin to understand Generation Z, have a guess who's after them. Generation Alpha, who are the children of millennials. And they were born after the iPhone was invented. Now think about that. They will use a touchscreen like it's a knife and fork. Yeah, and when it doesn't work, boy, they're going to get frustrated. So think about the customer experience that you need to deliver. Now, if that's what's going on in the consumer world, how are retailers and hospitality and people that need to entertain these guests and consumers, what are they doing? Well, the first thing is they have to bring the world of online and mobile together with their in-person experience. Too often, brands that we work with have built up software and payments for online, different ones for in-person. And getting those 2 systems to talk to each other is actually very difficult. So the first thing you have to do is to bring together the world of online, bring together the world of in-person, and guess what? Your consumer and your guest doesn't know that it's booking on a multi-channel experience. To them, it's just your brand. And they expect things to work the same, and if not better, in different places. When I was trying to travel here to Valencia, I tried to travel by train to the airport. And I was encouraged to download a brilliant app in the UK that would know me as an individual, that would personalize my experience and help me pay the best price for my train ticket. So I logged on, downloaded the app, searched for a train pretty easily, and then came the advertising to tell me to buy a ticket at this price. I tried to pay, and I got that screen that we've all seen, the one where that circle just whirs like this. It's the whirling screen of death. Have I paid? Have they got my credit card number? What is happening to me? My identity is being stolen right in front of my face. So I got out my business card and tried again. And again, same whirling screen of death. So I thought I'd try half an hour later. Unfortunately, the same thing. So what did I do? I drove to the airport this morning because things have to work, and things have to work a little bit better than they should. So very simply, beyond all the corporate speak, what Planet seeks to do is bring together the world of software and payments to put the customer experience first. And all too often in our world, people think about software, and then they think about payments. And unfortunately, payments is the difficult, complex, and often constrained part of the experience. And in order to make it invisible, you have to embed it in that particular software experience. And when you do, things actually just work a little bit better than they should. People actually start to be amazed and feel happy that that part of the experience is easy, simple, and gets figured out. And it leads to happier guests and happier consumers and ultimately happier shoppers. And people that are happy and feel good about things, well, they tend to write great reviews and they tend to come back. And that's what we all want. And in a world where we're going from Brexit in the UK to COVID crisis to war in Ukraine to a crisis of living, there's nothing wrong with a little bit of feel-good and making things work just a little bit better than they should. So at its heart, Planet is a technology business with its corner and its center in Europe. For hospitality today, we provide a host of software that helps hoteliers entertain and delight their guests. When we sat down with Manuel and team, we found the same energy and the same spark in the room. How do we do more for guests? How do we make it easy for the talent inside of the hospitality sector to actually delight and spend more time with their guests? And we want to put tech at the heart of that to solve those particular challenges and make things an awful lot more simple than they currently are. And perhaps the core of the strategy of why we wanted to work with Avantio is that we, like you, can see the mega trend of guests wanting to experience the private rentals market. And as a brand that serves luxury retail and great hospitality or hotel brands, it's only right for us to work with Avantio to service this market too. And what we want to try and do is that when a consumer spends in store, or when a guest spends at a hotel, or where they spend time and energy in tourist attractions, or in restaurants, or in any part of their particular journey, we want to make sure that that data is captured, anonymized, and the trends reported to the brands that are serving those consumers and those guests. Planet wants to capture the entire tourist journey, the entire traveler journey, and capture the whole of that spend of the wallet so that, quite simply, we can provide that information to Insight that does one brilliant, simple thing, which is just empower your teams to have the insight and intelligence to serve their guest better. And if we do that, we're pretty confident, Manuel, that our technology will actually be used, because that's the end goal for both those organizations. So look, tiny bit on who Planet is, with this software and payment company that likes to talk about feel-good connected commerce. We're super excited about the great things that you do in your market for your guests. We're really convinced that by partnering with Manuel and the team, we're going to find new ways to innovate, new services to bring to your guests as we understand them. There's rich and powerful data there that will connect these worlds of online and offline, and we're pretty convinced that when we find those things by listening to you, we'll be a great investment partner for Avantio and a great investment partner for you to bring new things to your guests. So once again, Manuel, thank you for the invitation. Delighted to be here. Hope we haven't kept you from your dinner, your drinks, and your wonderful beach reception. Have a super event and really, really nice to talk to you. Thank you.